Yes, indeed. The NFL draft is here very, very soon on the horizon, as they say. I'll just be riding solo today. Is my compadre Mike is it opening day in Miami as the Pirates take on the Marlins? So let's go Bucks. With that being said, you're tuned into the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy as always. The draft is here. Just really, really excited to have our next guest on, and we're going to break down a lot of these Steeler prospects. Everyone, get your mock drafts ready because it's another great episode of the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Sammy, run it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Yes, we are very excited to bring on our next guest, Mr. Ryan Roberts. You can find him on X or Twitter or whatever they're calling it nowadays. Rise and Draft. You see it behind him. A to Z Sports. Really excited to have you on first and foremost. How's everything going? Do you sleep during this time of the year?
Well, first and foremost, appreciate you for having me on, man. This is a great time of the year. I'm a father of two on top of being an NFL draft analyst, right? So like
Awesome.
sleep is a little bit not great for the next 4 weeks, but luckily, a couple days after that, after we do our recap stuff, we'll get to wind down a little bit before diving head into 2026. But I appreciate you for having me on, man. This is a really exciting time of the year. The work is pretty much almost done. Now we just kind of get to sit back and see how right or wrong I was with a lot of my takes, I guess, this cycle.
Yeah, well, I can relate. Slightly, I'm a father of one, a 2-year-old, so I feel like that she can compare. I don't know how old your kids are, but yeah, they give a run
I
for
have
your
a four
money.
and a two. I have a 4 and a 2 as
Okay,
well.
so,
So
so
yeah,
yes, very,
we're
very
there.
relatable,
Yeah.
definitely. So let's just jump right into it, man. Do you think Shador Sanders could fall to the Steelers? I know it kind of sounds far-fetched, but at this point, anything is possible. We're still waiting for Aaron Rodgers to come out of the darkness and sign a contract, especially with Russell Wilson just signing with the Giants this week. So just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I think Shador is definitely a player that can fall in this class. I tend to not think that it won't be to 21. I think that's a little bit of a drastic fall compared to what some people think. I mean, it was only a few days ago that we thought that Shador to Cleveland was a very possible thing. I know some things have shifted as far as like a lot of people think it's going to be Abdul Carter now, the edge from Penn State. I mean, we'll see obviously in a few weeks here, but I tend to still think that there's some potential landing spots before the Steelers. I think of like the New York Jets. I know they signed to Justin Fields to a 2-year deal, but it was only $20 million a year. Like that's a very easy
Yeah.
contract to get out of at the quarterback position. So I still think there's a couple teams that are on the table. Maybe the Raiders are one that want a little bit of insurance, even though they signed Sam Darnold. Like I think there's still a couple teams that make some sense to at least be in the quarterback market. If it's not Cleveland trading back, if it's not the New York Giants trading back, I still think there's a couple that will get there. So I would say it's unlikely that he gets there, but nothing shocks me in the NFL draft space at this point, right? Like it was just a few years ago where we thought it was
Yeah.
a no-brainer that the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to draft Malik Willis, and then all of a sudden they're drafting Kenny Pickett, and then Malik Willis doesn't go until the third round. Like crazy stuff happens, but I would say it's unlikely that he makes it to 21.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but like I said, I've seen crazier things happen. I wouldn't after the Big Ben retirement, it just hasn't been right in Pittsburgh. So at this point, I don't even know what to think. I'm just scratching my head ever since. So another name that's been coming up, and I really, really like this kid. Been watching some film on him, Jackson Dart. Just kind of talk about his intangibles and how you see him fitting into the NFL quarterback position.
Yeah, he's an interesting player because he brings like baseline things that you really like, right? Like he's 6'2", he's 220 plus pounds. He's a good athlete. Kind of a weird backstory is he was actually his dad played safety at Utah, and there was actually Utah only offered him a scholarship at one point to play safety at the University of Utah. So like there was some interest, not even outside of like the quarterback spectrum of like, so just to put in to context of like how athletic he is, like there were some teams that viewed him as a potential safety on the NFL level, or at least an athlete
That's
or on the college
insane.
level, excuse me. Yeah. So he's an athletic kid. And you saw it when he had some design runs or just be able to, maneuver the pocket a little bit. Like, he's a good athlete. And he got better every year, right? Like, first year at Ole Miss wasn't too great. Second year Ole Miss was a ton better. This past year, he got better again. So, like, there's been progression as well as far as, like, maintaining that progression as a football player, which is good to see, ultimately, right? I think the big thing with him, and these are more the negative column of a scouting report, is, one, he's coming from a system at Ole Miss that is rudimentary, for the lack of a better word, right? Like, it's not incredibly translatable to the NFL. So, like, how does he go through a true progression tree, right? Like, going through the real thought process of progressions and handle an NFL playbook and all the type of things. And he might very well just do that very naturally, right? Like, he might be the smartest dude in the world and it was just the system he was in and he'll be able to catch that up. And who knows? Like, that's why these meetings are so important. Get him in on the whiteboard and understanding what he knows. Those things are very important. But it is a little bit troubling in that system. I do think he was late a lot, right, on some reads. I think that he was a little bit gun shy at other times. I think that he's a talented kid in a lot of senses, but I do wonder if there's going to be some people that are just kind of struggling with what our short term's going to be. I think long term, there's projection with him, right? As far as, like, I think that he does have developmental
a lot of upside.
Yeah, I think there's upside, but I do think that short term is maybe where, is he going to sneak into the first round? Is he going to be more of a top, second round pick? Is he going to be somewhere just in day two, just in general? It's going to depend on how comfortable a team is, I think, on the short term comparative to the long term of how just that developmental track's going to be.
Yeah, and I feel like people at this point, especially lately in the NFL, it seems like these guys, like the developmental stage, I mean, it takes guys some 3, 4, 5 years to really find their rhythm. We've seen it. I think a perfect example is Geno Smith, who kind of everyone wrote him off, and then he had the season that he did. So it's I just feel like everyone's impatient. And quarterback position, some of these guys, especially with red shirts in the COVID year, I mean, these guys are coming out of college. Kenny Pickett was a perfect example. I think he was like 24, 25 years old, and you should be ready at that point, at least at that age, you would think so. But anyways, obviously that didn't work out in Pittsburgh. So let's jump on the other side of the ball and talk about defense.
Sure.
Is this the best defensive line class that you've seen in a long time? Obviously the Steelers, Larry Ogunjobi signed with the Bills. TJ Watt and Cam Hayward aren't getting any younger. Definitely need some youth on that defensive side of the ball. Just talk about this defensive line class, and it seems to be pretty good.
Yeah, no, the interior defensive line class, defensive tackle, I think is one of the deepest that I can personally remember. Like, there's some top level guys like the Mason Grahams of the world, Kenneth Grants, Derek Harmons. Like, there's some talent up top, but the good thing is that if you're a team that just needs quality depth in the mid rounds, like, there's a lot of dudes that can come in and I think play legitimate snaps for you, if not start in a relatively early tick, right? So I think interior defensive line is one of the deepest that I've seen in recent years, maybe the deepest in several. The edge group, I think, is good. It's a good class overall. I will say in the preseason, I thought it would be a little bit better, just slightly. Like, I thought guys like Mykel Williams from Georgia, for instance, would take like a little bit more of a bigger leap, and that this group could potentially be an elite group. I still think it's a good group, and when you combine that with an elite interior defensive line class, it's very deep. It really is. So if you're building inside out, which is still structurally how the best teams do it, I do think that you can find a lot of value in this class. And I know obviously the Steelers, for a long time have been built that way, which is why they've been a sustainable product, which is why they've only had 3 coaches in like the last 50 years or whatever the heck it's been, like the crazy span that it's been on. And the big reason is that they find guys like Cam Hayward and, the value plays, the Casey Hamptons of the world. They find all those dudes, Brett Kiesel, like they just find them, right? Kimo von Ollenhoffen. They find them historically. And I think
are you a Steelers fan? You're bringing out names out of the bag that are, those are the good old days.
I used to love those defensive lines, man.
Who is your NFL team? Who are you a fan of?
I'm a Rams fan. Okay. I grew up that way, but I'm a football guy, so I appreciate good defensive.
Were you a St. Louis Rams fan?
So I'm not really by region. So my mom was a Rams fan. Okay. My dad is a Dolphins fan. So I had a choice when I was younger, and one of my first memories was The Greatest Show on Turf. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like that team, and I just like that team. So no real regionality to it. Just I loved Marshall Faulk,
Mark Bolger, Pittsburgh guy.
Yeah, Yeah,
You know that
yeah.
name, Mark Bolt? Yeah.
Oh yeah, he didn't give me the best memories as a Rams fan personally, but like the Kurt Warner before that was great. Yeah, I know Bolger went to
Yeah.
West Virginia, right? So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
he was
He's
good for
close
1 year.
to
He made
the
one Pro Bowl
Pittsburgh
with the
tie. Yep.
Rams. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Talk about the running back position. Who are some sleepers? That the Steelers obviously, need another running back. Jalen Warren's great, but you definitely need that 1-2 punch and need the depth.
Yeah, I mean it's a great running back class. You just talked about the interior defensive line. This is one of the deepest classes, at least since the Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette class. Like that class was bananas when you really thought about it. But this
Mhm.
class might be, while not as top heavy as that group, it might be deeper. I mean, like there's guys everywhere. I mean, I was just putting
Yeah.
together literally a top 25 of running backs, like upgraded grades, and like guys that I have in like number 20, 22, I'm just like, dang, man, like this is good. That's a good player that's like in the 20s on this ranking just because of just the sheer volume that the running backs have. So you can find a guy like almost any round. A couple guys that I like this year, DJ Giddens out of Kansas State's one of my dudes this
Yeah.
year. Like I think you can get him probably in like the third rounds, maybe fourth, like somewhere in that ballpark. That kid's an early down belt. Like he has some of the best feats and vision in this class. He did not take the step as far as from a passing game perspective. So he might just be an early down ball carrier, but like
Hmm.
kid's very good. You have some crazy stories like Brashard Smith out of SMU, who was a Miami wide receiver turned running back who just ran for 1,300 yards this year.
Insane.
He's a really interesting. Yeah, it really is. And we're kind of seeing that transition from wide receiver to running back a little bit more, at least recently, with like Tyrone Tracy
Yeah.
and those types of guys. But he's an interesting guy on day 3. If you need kind of a satellite back, a guy that's just going to come in and catch the football and bring a little bit of juice to the table as well. You can work down your list of like Taj Brooks if you just want to bulldozer somewhere on day 3,
Yeah.
right? Like he's 200. He lost some weight to get down to run fast, but like he played at like 225 and he's a downhill
Hmm.
physical runner. So if there's a type of back that you need in this class, you can certainly find it because I think that there's going to be value plays. Like a lot of people like Quinshawn Judkins in the preseason, like he might be moving down the board a little bit just because of the sheer volume of running backs that we have this year. So, yeah, there's a style for anybody. And if you need a big back, lots to like. If you need a speedy satellite back like a Brashard Smith, you can find value throughout this
Yeah.
class.
Definitely seems like a deep class. Let's talk about this. I always like to talk because a lot of these guys get a lot of hype. Who would you say are some of the players that are getting overhyped and you can see them falling? Um, I'm sure you love this topic.
Yeah. Overrated. I would say Walter Nolan is one for me out of Ole Miss. I've seen him mocked
Mhm.
like 11 to San Francisco and stuff, and it's just like,
Wow.
yeah, it's just way too rich for my blood. I get it. He was a 5-star, incredibly explosive, really good athlete, but his motor runs very hot and cold at times, and then he's got some character concerns off the field. So like, it's just not a guy personally that like I would be comfortable with drafting in
Yeah.
the top 20. Like I just think that's way too rich for my blood. He would be one for sure. I'm trying to think of other guys I would say are overrated. Man, it's actually hasn't been like a crazy clickbait year. I feel like it's one of
Mhm.
those where it's just like, yeah, that guy's probably reasonably ranked. But another guy, funny enough, from the same defense, I would say is Trey Amos, the corner from Ole Miss. I don't hate Trey
Mhm.
Amos. I just don't like Trey Amos' first round pick conversation that we keep
Yeah.
talking about, right? Because I'm just like, I just think that the hip fluidity is pretty average. I don't think he is the best man cover corner just in general. I think he's going to be more of a zone guy on the next level, which is fine. You can find roles in the NFL, but a guy that keeps like kind of getting put in like the late first round conversation, I just don't really see it with him. So a couple of guys that I think are overrated would be those
Understandable.
guys. Yeah, but otherwise, not thinking of anybody that's like super like just peeking out. Like, but I think Walter Nolan,
Mhm.
Trey Amos are a couple of decent ones.
Yeah, great. We really appreciate the insight. Just a few
Yep.
more questions before we get you out of here. I know you have father duties and 20 more mock drafts to do. So let's just talk about the current Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is dragging us out on a decision. I think it's inevitable at this point that they will sign him. I'm not a super big fan of it. I just think that at this point, it's just too much. We had a little bit of that with Russell Wilson. I was a Russell Wilson guy. I was for actually bringing him back just
Mm-hmm.
because I love the Mason Rudolph signing. I just think that Russ didn't have enough weapons. I mean, you had, Van Jefferson and, you didn't, now you have DK Metcalf, and I think it would have been a little bit in George Pickens on the other end. But just talk about, kind of where, your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers as a Pittsburgh Steeler.
I mean, I think someone said it perfectly. It was either on Twitter or on a podcast. I can't remember what it was on, but someone said they need each other at this point, right? Like it just
Yeah.
it's so weird on both sides of it because you're like Pittsburgh, you're at 21. Do you want to force a quarterback there if you don't love a quarterback there, right? Because if Shador and obviously Cam will be off the board, but like if both those guys are off the board, then you have to decide if like is 21 a good spot for a Jackson Dart or a Jalen Milrow? Like it's a very like murky conversation, right? So they need him desperately on that side. And then Aaron Rodgers, it's like it's either retire or the Steelers right now, right? Like, what are your other options on the table? The free
Yeah.
agency market has been decided at this point. Like, we know who the Giants have, we know who the Raiders have. Like, it's just
Mhm.
the Jets have their quarterback. Like, we know all these destinations, so there's just no really crazy options on the table. So I think Aaron Rodgers is at the tail end of his career. I still think he's a pretty good quarterback, but I don't think he's great.
Yeah.
Like, he's not Aaron Rodgers anymore, right? But
I don't think
with
he's going to win the Steelers a Super Bowl. That's like what I'm getting at. Cause like I used this analogy on a previous podcast and I said, this is what I said. And you kind of give me your
Mhm.
take on it. You
Sure.
have, the Bengals, their defense stinks. You have Lamar
Mhm.
Jackson. The Browns are the Browns. No, you're getting past the Chiefs, the Bills, the Chargers are good now with Herbert. So it's like the AFC is like stacked. And I'm like, you
Yeah.
really think you're going to pay Aaron Rodgers all this money? You've seen what he did. He got everyone fired in New York. He's going to
Yeah.
come here. The Steelers maybe might win a playoff game. I just don't think that bringing Aaron Rodgers is going to bring you a Super Bowl. And you have about a 1 to 2, maybe a 2-year window. I'm going to say a 1-year window to do so. So for me, I think the Steelers are so afraid to rebuild. And people are
Mhm.
like, oh, you don't want to tank. I'm like, well, what is it like? Oh, non-losing seasons are great. Like you walk into the facilities down there and there's 6 shiny Lombardis. Like we want to get the
Right.
7th one. Like anything less than that's just the standard here. And it just lately it's just been like beating a dead horse at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to win a Super Bowl. It's so tricky with the Steelers because the Steelers have just been this consistency of a franchise forever, right?
Yeah.
Like my entire life. It's just like they consistently make the playoffs. They're a contender in but they are in a really weird world right now where it's like they've just been kind of trending downward, but like then they're also just kind of stabilizing enough into the middle where they're still a solid to good team, right? Where they're
Yeah.
still a playoff contending team. They're still going to win more games than they lose. But there needs to be a conversation of like, at some point, you need to change something, right? Like, you can't keep rolling down the same path and hoping that something like you just catch fire, right? Like, that's kind of a weird spot to be in ultimately under Coach Tomlin. So I agree with you in that sense. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is that guy. I just don't know if also just kind of looking at it at another prism, like, again, like 21, like you're probably not going to find that guy either. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and it is, I mean, it
The
is a decent
2026
situation to
draft
find too.
class looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. Well, and to your point of like not tanking per se, but like, a
Yeah.
rebuild is
Mason
still very
Rudolph, I can't believe I'm saying this, but he could at least get the ball down the field. I mean, DK Metcalf's down there somewhere, George Pickens
yeah.
down there somewhere, Pat Fryermuth down there somewhere. So for me, it's like at this point, if you could just, and that's why I like Russ so much because
Mm-hmm.
I was never a big Justin Fields guy. I think you want to talk about overhyped. I mean, I would his agent deserves a raise for getting that contract because he's proven absolutely nothing. Everyone's like, yeah, he's a dynamic player. He's exciting. He's not a good quarterback. He's a
No.
good athlete. He is to me, he's not a good quarterback. Like, and there's
Yeah.
very little, to at this point in his career, it's like it's the system, it's this. He's had every chance to succeed. Like, I just don't, so for me, I was happy when they signed him, but when I seen the amount, I was like, man, I'm like, good for him. I mean, hey, more power to him. I'll never hate on another man getting money, but his agent, man, might work some magic there.
It's funny when at Indianapolis, well, after the DK signing, I actually thought that Russell was coming back. I was like, because he's the
Me
perfect
too.
quarterback for them, right? Like what's Russell Wilson known for? The moon ball, right? Like he throws a great
Yeah.
deep ball. It goes, and you have two outside oriented wide receivers now with Pickens and Metcalf who make a lot of plays down the field, right? So you're like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And when I was at the combine, like that's all I was hearing was like that they wanted to bring back one of Wilson or Fields. Like they wanted to bring back one of them at least. So I was like, when that trade happened, I was like, oh, okay, Russell
Yeah.
Wilson now with
They
one more
brought back
year with
Mason Rudolph.
DK. Yeah.
So
it's gonna be interesting though, man. It's gonna be super interesting because I'm not really.
at this
Yeah.
at this point, I just feel as a Steeler fan, man, like it's I'm just like I don't even know what to think anymore until they get rid. I love Mike Tomlin, but at this point, there just needs to be a culture change. And I've said it on previous podcasts. And until that happens, they're just going to keep getting the same results. I hope not. I hope that I'm wrong, but nothing is giving me
purgatory.
any much exactly. And I don't know how anyone can have any sort of optimism rather than having a 500 season. So, but with that being said, man, it's been great. Love the draft coverage. Like I said, that tweet worked. I'm like, you know what? So really good stuff. We'll have to have you on again. Just tell everyone what you have coming up, where they can find you. And yeah, man, we're really fun time. I know our viewers will really appreciate this.
Yeah, no doubt. Yep. A to Z Sports. If you want NFL draft, college football, and NFL coverage, we have anything that you need over there at Rise and Draft on Twitter. I know you were joking about it when we started, but I literally am working on a mock draft as we speak. So I'll have one pretty much every week up until the draft. So
mock draft, nothing wrong with it.
Mock draft, scouting reports, position rankings. If you just want some general interest stuff on the prospects that your favorite team might be drafting, the Steelers might be drafting here.
Yeah, send me it. We'll definitely share it on our networks.
Love it. Love it. Yep. So anything over there, A to Z Sports, Rise and Draft on Twitter. I post all my articles and all that type of stuff, and appreciate the support and appreciate you having me.
Yeah, anytime. We'll definitely do it again. I know my co-host, he's at Pirates opening day down in Florida, and I always tease him because we were in like 7th, 8th grade, and he must have had 20 mock drafts. So I know he's sad, but Mike's here in spirit with us. I know he's enjoying himself, but yeah, man, keep doing what you do. Great having you, and we'll have to do it again soon. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, like we always say, it's the most wonderful time of the year. If there is a little bit of optimism in Steeler land, it is now at least something to get excited to. Our sick team was at the Combine, got some great coverage, and we're just going to keep cranking out prospects, analysts, everything. So make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're on every single major streaming outlet, as well as here on YouTube. Tell your aunt, tell your uncle, tell your dog, tell your cat. Hey, even tell your bird. The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy, 365 days a year. Sammy, take it to the end zone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.